What is up everyone, ObiWan back again with another video. Today is going to be another end of month vlog where I talk about all the movies and TV shows that I watched in the past month, which is January 2023. I can't believe a month has gone by already of this year. What happened? Now, I've got a bunch of Blu-rays here to show, cinema releases, streaming releases, all that good stuff. I usually try to watch about 20 titles every month at least. I've only got about 18 here, but still quite a bit to talk about. And I've been watching Andor and The Last of Us this month, two TV shows. I don't usually do two at a time, but I'm really enjoying both. They've took a bit of time up as well, but more on them when I finish them shows, which isn't in this month's video. Now, before I get into it, I just want to give a big shout out to my nephew, Jesse, who I believe watches my videos. So Jesse, thank you so much for watching these videos, mate. It really does mean a lot. I hope you enjoy them. I hope you enjoy this one. And I love you very much. You're the man. You know, I love spending time with you, mate. So hopefully you can watch a few movies together soon as well. I believe you're getting into films now like Spider-Man and stuff. So, yeah, we'll have to watch some Marvel movies or something, mate. So, thank you, mate. Thank you for all your support. And I hope you enjoyed this video. So, let's just get into it now with the first thing I watched in January. And the first thing I watched in January is Annabelle. Now, I picked all three of these films up last month, I think, because these covers were all there and they were going for really cheap. And I haven't really had too much interest in the Annabelle films because I heard the first one wasn't very good, which is this one. And I was put off by The Conjuring 3 a little bit, but I did like The Conjuring 1 and 2. So I thought, you know what, I'll just grab them now. And you know what, I actually did like this film. It's nothing amazing. It's not the greatest horror out there or anything like that. Definitely not as good as the first two Conjuring films, although I did enjoy it a lot more than the third Conjuring film. Annabelle Wallis really did carry this movie. I thought she put an excellent performance in here. It had a good horror mystery surrounding it. Good little story, I thought. The origins of Annabelle are explored, which I wish they kind of would have went into a little bit more detail with that, because it feels like a random person just thrown into this doll here. We only see it about 10 minutes, but it was still interesting to see that dynamic added into these Annabelle movies. But yeah, I had a kind of good time with it. It's a very much 3-star movie, but not as bad as what I'd heard. I've heard the second one is way better though, so I'm looking forward to getting to them, the next one and the third one. But yeah, happy to have seen this now. So that is Annabelle, the first film I watched in January, of this year, 2023. Now, next up is a film I've wanted to see ever since it was released, and I don't know why it's took me this long to get to it, because it is horror and it looked right up my street, really, and that is Saint Maud. Now, this follows this nurse who goes to look after this. She might have been a once famous actress, I think she was, and her health is declining, so this nurse goes to look after her, and she's like very religious, this nurse, and she said she's got messages from God and stuff like that. And all the way through the film, you don't quite know if she's mentally unstable or she is actually getting these messages from God. And director Rose Glass, is it? She sort of played with the idea of, if someone tells you that they are getting messages from God and stuff, everyone instantly thinks that there's something wrong with you, or you know, you're not quite there in the head. And she played on that idea for this movie. And I liked the way it's up to the viewer to kind of interpret what's going on. The last half a second of this movie was crazy. I mean, I've never seen a movie end like that before, I don't think. It really does make you think. I wouldn't say it's a very creepy film, but the horror elements are done well. And I really enjoyed this one. Decent little A24 film. Something a little bit different, I feel. Sorry if there's any glare on these cases, guys. I'm trying to not get the glare on. But yeah, I had a really, really good time with this. Morford Clark put in a great performance as this nurse. And I do recommend this if you like your horror a little bit different, or want to see something different with modern horror, if you like. But that is Saint Maud. Next up is the new Tom Hanks movie, A Man Called Otto, and I went to cinema to see this one. And Tom Hanks is playing a little bit of a different character here. He's more of an unpleasant man because he's always angry with the neighbours and stuff. And if people drive down his private road, he's first out there to shout at them and say, "This is a private road." I mean, everything is annoying him. Everyone is annoying him. And he's just fed up with life, basically. But even if he's unpleasant to these people in this movie, I kind of fell in love with this guy, and the tagline for this film is "Fall in love with the world's angriest neighbour," and I totally think that fits the movie so well. Tom Hanks pulls off a difference in his character here so well. I mean, he's an arsehole, but he's a likable arsehole, really. And it just is about him basically affecting the lives of others around him, even if he doesn't quite realise it. And I really attached myself to this character. I thought this was a really good, heartwarming movie. Just very, very streamlined, as if it's like a very nice drama, if you like. That's what I'm trying to say. And I just had a good time with it. And I'm actually going to give this my new release of the month. I thought it was a really enjoyable flick and a great way to start some new releases of this year, even though it is technically a 2022 film. So that is A Man Called Otto. I do highly recommend this to everyone. I think this is a film everyone can get on with. And Tom Hanks put in a really good performance here. Next up, we have a rewatch for me, a film I seen about 5 or 6 years ago for the first time, and this is my second time watching it, and that is Hot Fuzz. Now, me and my wife watched Shaun of the Dead last month, and we really enjoyed it. I did not like that movie the first time I watched it, but it grew on me so much a second time round, and it made me want to watch Hot Fuzz. So we got our baby, was getting minded on a Saturday night, we ordered a pizza, and my wife said, I want to watch something funny that you don't have to think about too much. And I said, what about Hot Fuzz? Because we watched Shaun of the Dead. And she was like, yeah, let's watch it. And you know what? I had a great time with this. This is one I did like on first watch, and I remember it, how good it was watching it again. I really enjoyed Simon Pegg a lot more in this movie than I did Shaun of the Dead. I just think his character is awesome because he's just like this goody two-shoes cop who won't let anything go. Like when they're in the pub and he sees a load of young people drink and he kicks them all out, and the pub sort of don't like him because all their money is going and stuff like that. But he is hired in this village. He gets moved to this village because he's too good for the city. All the crime has been stopped in London, and the police kind of want to get rid of him, so they send him to this little village, and murder starts happening around this village. And there's a lot to uncover there, and he teams up with Nick Frost's character in this buddy cop movie, basically. I'm sure you've all seen Hot Fuzz, but I had a great time with this. Some of the death scenes as well really did go for it. I mean, there's a lot of blood and gore here that you wouldn't quite usually see in these type of comedies. But yeah, I really enjoyed the unraveling of the mystery, stuff like that. Yeah, I had a great time with Hot Fuzz. Really great comedy, and I really need to check out The World's End, is it? The third one of these. I've never seen that movie, so I really want to check it out. But Hot Fuzz, great British comedy. Really enjoyed it. That is Hot Fuzz. Now, I made a bit of a ploy this year to watch some Arnold Schwarzenegger films that I've never seen, and I'm sort of buying them all on 4K and Blu-ray now because he was my hero growing up, but I was shocked to see how many of his films I had not seen. So I started off with one of them here, and that is Raw Deal on 4K. And this was more of a gangster movie, I thought, than an action film. This is about Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is hired by this guy whose son was killed to get some payback, basically. So we decide it's this mafia boss that's killed this guy's son, and Arnold Schwarzenegger pretends to be like this gangster mafia type guy, gets in with them all, starts kicking a bit of ass for the mafia and stuff like that while working undercover, basically. I thought this movie was okay. I wish it had a few more Arnie one-liners in there that I know and love him for. But it was a very watchable film. Some over-the-top villains, stuff like that. There's some cool action moments. But again, it's a 3-star movie for me. It's nothing special. I didn't love it or anything. It's not one of my favourite Arnie films, but it's definitely not a bad movie or anything. Definitely a fun time. So that is Raw Deal from starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Next up is a film I've wanted to see for a very long time, and it was just on Netflix there, and I thought, you know what, I'm going for this right now. And this is a film starring Cillian Murphy and Rachel McAdams. Now, that pushed me even more to watch it. Directed by Wes Craven. I thought, what can go wrong here? And that is the movie Red Eye. Now, this is a very, very short film. I think it's 1 hour and 25, but take the credits away. I think it finished on about 1 hour 15. It's just such a fast-paced thrill ride. And this is about Rachel McAdams, who's getting on a plane, a red-eye flight. I don't know what they are. I think they're just like quick flights that go from short destinations, I think. It's an American thing, really. And Cillian Murphy is this stranger she meets in the airport, and he ends up sitting next to her on the plane. And little does she know, he's kind of planned all this because he needs her to do something for him. And if you haven't seen the movie, I don't want to say too much more than that, but I love the unraveling of this film. Cillian Murphy was chewing up the scenery in this movie, even though it was all just basically in a confined space on a plane. I thought he was awesome in this, and I can see I know he was in stuff before this, but I can just see why he's gone on to have a great career. And Rachel McAdams plays a really great female lead who, you really want to get away from this guy in this film. And I really do like films that are based on planes. I think it's in a dangerous situation, it's hard to get out of. I kind of like them movies where they take place in the one location, and I feel like the movie's got to be a little bit clever when it does that, and this movie did. Definitely one of the better Wes Craven movies I've seen. I had a great time with it, and that is on Netflix right now if you guys want to check it out. But that is Red Eye, and I do believe there's a 4K coming soon, and I'm definitely going to pick that up for my collection here. So that is Red Eye. Next up, we have Attack the Block. Now, I've been asked to watch this a few times by one of my subscribers. His name is Marvel Fan. So Marvel Fan, there's another shout out on this video. I finally watched it, my friend. So there you go. Now, this was a really fun movie, actually. This is about these gang of hoodies they used to get referred to in the 2010s or the early 2000s. Antisocial kids, basically, who were causing trouble around the States and stuff. And they get mixed up with this bunch of aliens who've landed and are trying to take over this big apartment block that they live in. And Jodie Whittaker is also in there, and she gets mixed up with this gang. It couldn't be more contrasted if it liked, because she is totally not these type of people, but they have to work together anyway to defeat these aliens and stuff like that. Now, John Boyega and Jodie Whittaker were by far the best cast members of this movie. I can tell why not many of the other members of this film have gone on to do many things, because the acting was a little bit below par there. The biggest thing that put me off about this film was the dialogue and the slang that they were talking like. It was just really off-putting. I couldn't understand some of the stuff they were saying at times, and I just thought it felt really forced. That was my biggest problem with this movie. But overall, I did have a good time with it. I had a really fun third act. And it is a movie that sets out to just have a lot of fun, basically. So, yeah, that is Attack the Block. Not bad at all. Next up is an absolute classic, Singing in the Rain on 4K. First time watch for me. I have vowed, along with some Schwarzenegger movies, to watch a lot more classics that I haven't seen this year. And this almost got my older pick of the month. But this movie was fantastic. I had such a great time with it. This is about a movie studio who are very, very successful. And this other movie studio starts to transition into sound. And because they're just making silent movies. And it's the struggles that they're trying to do to compete with this other movie studio, really. I don't know if it was ahead of its time, but it was a very clever movie for the time that it come out, I'll say that. And Gene Kelly was awesome in this movie. I thought he put in such a great performance. The moment that is actually the Singing in the Rain moment, where he's just singing in the street and it's, he's getting soaked and stuff, that to me is iconic. I mean, I can see why that is one of the greatest movie moments of all time. I thought it was just such a joy to watch. It was absolutely brilliant. It really was. And he's also got a buddy in this called Cosmo, and I think he's played by Donald O'Connor, I think. He kind of stole the show for me. He was just such a good supporting actor for this movie. And there's another great movie moment here where he's kind of doing this dance. And it's just so over the top and stuff, but it totally works. Laugh my ass off at that. I just thought this was, I can see why it's a classic. It looked brilliant on 4K. I mean, this movie just shone in 4K. And I think that's my favourite time watching 4K movies, when they're all classics and stuff, because they just... you can just tell how much detail they have been enhanced. But I had a really great time with this. I did. It was just such a warming movie. I'm not really into musicals too much, but this one spoke to me. And I really thought that it was funny that when they're transitioning to sound, their main star, this actress, has got the squeakiest voice ever, and they kind of don't want to use her no more. I thought that was really funny. Singing in the Rain, absolutely brilliant film, and I would definitely watch this again. I highly recommend it if you're looking for some classics that you haven't seen yet. From the 1950s, an era I'm starting to realise it was really, really great. So that is Singing in the Rain on 4K. Now next up is going to be my older pick of the month, and this isn't a very old movie at all actually, but it is from last year, and that is The Fallout, starring Jenna Ortega. Wow, this was absolutely incredible. Now, I know people have spoke about this movie before, and I knew it was going to be good going into it, going by the reviews and stuff like that, but it really did. You know, this really spoke to me, this movie. This is about two girls who are in the toilet at high school, and they don't really know each other or anything like that. And then this mass shooting happens, and all you can hear is the gunfire going off, and them two hiding in the toilet there, in the cubicle, and these gunshots going off, man. It was just a really riveting moment. I was like, holy shit. It really does feel, I feel like it really did capture what it would be like to be in a mass shooting, even though you're away from it, you're hidden. It must have been terrifying. These two girls are absolutely petrified. You think the shooting's over, and next minute a different sound and machine gun came out, and I was like, holy shit. And you could tell that this really did affect them. And it's all about the aftermath of that shooting, how these girls are dealing with life. A lot of their friends have died and stuff like that. And their friendship, how it grows. I just thought it was a really good movie to look into character development of these characters, and it sends a really strong message of gun control in America. Now, I know I'm from the UK. I'm not going to get into the political debate here about guns or anything like that. But even some people who are for guns in America would watch this movie, I think, and think, yeah, maybe we need to do something here. Especially the last scene in the movie, I was like, I'm not going to give it away or anything, but if you watch the film, you'll know what I mean. Brilliant performances here. I thought Jenna Ortega was awesome. What a year it's been for her. And the other girl, I'm really sorry I forgot her name, the other actress. She's quite famous, actually, I should know. She put in a great performance as well. So this is a really, really hard-hitting drama that I highly recommend. That is The Fallout. Next up, we have another new release, and that is Megan, one of my most anticipated movies of the year. This actually came 10th in my most anticipated movies of the year list. I've done a full review for this on the channel. I'll leave them down below if you want to check it out. I did like this film. It took a long time to get where it was going to, but I didn't mind that. Bit of a story build in a killer doll movie, which you kind of don't expect. Thought Megan was a really, really great character. She was quite sinister in some of the things she had going for her. I liked the way she chased down people, and she was like crawling fast instead of running after them. It was quite creepy. But she's like this toy that you could probably see being made today. I mean, I wouldn't put it past me if they make these type of things for kids who just pay all their attention to the kid that they're sort of synced with, basically. But she has a sinister side to it, of course. Now, I really wish that they would have went full gore with this. You can tell so many of the kills are off screen or cut out to get the rating down, and Blumhouse have even admitted this. That was a little bit of a negative for me. Also, the characters in this movie kind of weren't really doing it for me, especially the main character. I think her name's Ashley Williams. I might be wrong there, but she just lost her sister in the start of this movie, and there was just no grief whatsoever at all from her. And I think she's actually a good actress, but in this movie, she just kind of wasn't doing it for me. The young kid was kind of annoying at times as well, and the side characters. Yeah, I kind of rooted for Megan sometimes here. But Megan was definitely the best thing about this movie. She was a great horror protagonist and a new potential icon. So I'm looking forward to what they do with the next Megan. I think it's already been announced. But I wish they just went off with it with the gore a little bit. But the third act here was really enjoyable. And if you're a horror hound, you've got to check this movie out. So I quite enjoyed it. And that was Megan. Next up is a TV show that I've only just caught up with. And that is ObiWan. I've never really been a big Star Wars fan, but I rewatched the original trilogy not long ago, and I absolutely loved it, especially Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back. So I decided to catch up with the Star Wars shows, and last month I talked about the Book of Boba Fett. And if you want to see last month's, that'll be down below as well. Last month's vlog, that'll be down below as well. And I started Obi-Wan straight after it, and I absolutely loved this show as well. I thought it was great. Ewan McGregor just picking up where he left off from the episode, the prequel trilogy there. Really stepped into the shoes of Obi-Wan once again. And he's kind of protecting Princess Leia in this one. He's been told to watch over Luke Skywalker, but Princess Leia sort of becomes the one he must look after a little bit there. And each episode was really different. There's loads of Jedi hunters out there looking for Jedi, and he's got to kind of keep his head down, stuff like that. And Darth Vader, returns in this. Anakin Skywalker, and there's a little bit of conflict with them. I really did like the dynamic of the show. I'm not going to pretend I'm this big Star Wars expert, because I'm not, but for what it was, I really enjoyed Obi-Wan. Kind of on par with Boba Fett for me. I enjoy both them shows. I do think they are quite high quality, especially with Andor I'm watching now. I think the Star Wars shows are a little bit higher quality than the Marvel shows that Disney Plus have been putting out here. Even though I do enjoy the Marvel ones, but I really had a good time with Obi-Wan, so that is Obi-Wan. Next up is a movie so bad it's good, and that is Anaconda from the 88 Films Anaconda collection. It's the only one I'm going to show this one because it's the only one I watched. I seen this movie years ago. When it first came out, I rented it on VHS, and I just didn't like it at all. But this time, I had a lot of fun with it. There's a lot to say about this movie. First off, the cast. It's got fucking Owen Wilson in, Ice Cube, J-Lo, John Voight, who was great in this movie. Such an asshole of a character, but you can't take your eyes off him. The CGI Anaconda, my God, it was some of the worst CGI I have ever seen in my life. But it was just, it worked in the movie's favour because it was so bad that you had to laugh. It's basically just these people on a raft, and an anaconda is on the tail, basically. You know what? If you want a fun time, something not to think about too much, and just easy watch, I definitely recommend Anaconda. Intrigued to check out the second one now. I know it's not going to be as good, and the third and fourth are meant to be terrible, but it's intrigued me to check them out more now after checking this one out. So definitely enjoyed this a lot more on rewatch than I did back in the day, and that is Anaconda. Next up is another 2023 release, and that is There's Something Wrong with the Children. I've done a short review on this one if you want to check my shorts. This is a straight-to-VOD horror. It's about this couple, and one couple has a couple of kids there, and they go on a hike. They come across this kind of hole in the wall, and it's like an abandoned cave or whatever, and something's not quite right there, and when they come out, some of the characters are acting a little bit different, especially the children. And it's just kind of a mystery as to what is going on. Now, I thought this film had a good start, a very good end, a lot of filler in the middle. I mean, it was just, they were trying to just pack the movie out to get to the end point, but they couldn't make it too short, I felt. Some of the characters here were okay. Another half of the characters I really didn't like. It wasn't a very high tension movie, even though it probably should have been. The mystery at the end was kind of dumb, even though I did like the final third act. The reveal kind of let it down a little bit there. It wasn't anything special, this movie. It was just a very, very generic horror film, and I don't recommend it to everyone. If you're an absolute horror must-have, then maybe give it a go, but it was one of the weaker films I watched this month. Next up is a film I have been told to watch so many times, and that is Midnight Run, starring Robert De Niro. A first-time watch for me, and Charles Grodin is in there as well. I think he's the dad of Beethoven. Now, this is about Charles Grodin's character being a wanted man, and all these private detectives are after him, the mafia's after him, the cops are after him, everyone's after this guy. And Robert De Niro is a hired detective, and he got there first, and he needs to bring him back to this other guy, and he's going to get paid handsomely. I think it's like 50k or 100k or something, one of them. And it's just about them two trying to get back to this location with everyone on their tail. And I had a really fun time with this movie. I don't think it was as amazing as everyone was telling me, but it is a solid film. A lot of people talk about the chemistry between these two. I don't quite know about that. I mean, it was there, but it wasn't some of the best chemistry I've ever seen or anything like that. But I thought Robert De Niro was really funny in this at times. I loved when he got the passport and then just turned around and done this little dance move with his passport and stuff like that. The fake, or the police officer badge it was, sorry. Some interesting side characters in this. All the people who were chasing them and stuff like that. I had a fun time with it. It's a fun movie. I do think it might actually be better on rewatch. I think I was just going into it expecting the world because of all these people who told me it was amazing. But it is a very, very good Robert De Niro movie. So that is Midnight Run. Next up is a film called Unwelcome. I didn't really know too much about this movie apart from the plot synopsis. I didn't watch any trailers, didn't really look at any images or anything like that. And this is a film about this couple who move to Ireland after a traumatic event, and this woman who lives in a village says, you've got to leave a little blood sacrifice, like a little bit of meat at the bottom of the garden every single night for the little people there, or they'll get angry and come after you. As ridiculous as that sounds, and it should be absolutely terrible, this movie, it kind of wasn't. I enjoyed it for what it was. I'm glad movies like this are still being made, and especially cinema releases. I can see a lot of people hating this movie, and that is fair enough. This is a ridiculous concept, it really is. But the movie throws you off a little bit, sort of, and it's more of a home invasion film. And these little people sort of become... the main story becomes a little bit of a side story, and the side story sort of takes over the main story, if you like. Really, really great third act, even though, again, like There's Something Wrong with the Children, the ending just brought it down a little bit there, but the third act as a whole wasn't, was really good apart from that. Cole Meany and his family of arseholes put in a really good performance here. And the two main actors in the main couple, I really did grow to like them as the movie went on. It was mainly the full end, the last 10 minutes of this film that really brought it down for me. But apart from that, I was quite enjoying it. It was what it was. I didn't expect this to be a masterpiece or anything like that. But I've done a full review for this movie as well, if you want to check it out, and that will be down below. And that is the movie Unwelcome. Next up, we have another 50s film here, and one of the best movies from the 50s, according to everyone, and that is The Night of the Hunter on Criterion. A movie I actually won in a horror collection from Criterion, and I finally got round to it. I really did enjoy this film. This is about this guy who is sent to death row, basically, but he's got £10,000 hidden, and he gives it to his son and says, do not tell anyone about this money. And he sort of slips up to his new inmate, played by Robert Mitchum here. And when he is sent to death row and Robert Mitchum is out of prison, Robert Mitchum tries to infiltrate this family here by sort of getting with the mother of the family, and he just wants to find this money. I know he's always on the sly, threatening the kids and stuff as to where the money is, because he knows the kids know, stuff like that, and he's like kind of nice when the mother turns up and stuff like that. But Robert Mitchum put in an absolutely stellar performance here. He was so sinister, you couldn't take your eyes off him when he was on the screen. You really did fear him a little bit in this movie. I thought it was a great little story, it did. Now, the only thing that let it down for me was the last, 15 minutes or something. I just don't think the movie knew when to end. And even though it's only a short film, I kind of wish it just would have ended earlier, because they've done everything they need to. But this, I can see why it's a classic. It was really well acted, really well directed, and a typical 50s classic. And I just think when you watch these 50s films like this and Singing in the Rain, the actors just seem like... actors working today are still amazing, they are. But actors just seem to have something different about them in this era. It's like they pour their heart and soul into every single line of dialogue and stuff. It's like they can't believe their luck that they're on cinema, and they want to make cinema work. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's kind of like they learn the ins and outs of acting, especially Singing in the Rain as well. You'll see what I mean with some of the actors in that. They knew theatre and everything. But Robert Mitchum was awesome in this film. Really, really depraved character. And I do recommend this if you're looking for another classic horror from the 50s. That is The Night of the Hunter. Next up, we have a first-time John Carpenter watch for me, and that is the film Vampires. I've always been intrigued to check this film out, because I've heard a lot of people say it's one of John Carpenter's underrated films and one of his better movies. I don't quite agree with that, but it was alright. This is the opening 10 minutes of this film was fucking awesome. But this follows... I forgot the guy's name. He's off Once Upon a Time in America. I'll just see if it's on the back here. James Woods. and Daniel Baldwin and his team of vampire hunters, really. And basically it's about them hunting vampires, but they become the hunted when this master vampire, who's like the strongest vampire of them all, comes after them. Steve Baldwin really brought the film down for me. I did not like his character at all. I thought he was the biggest arsehole going, and the movie kind of wants you to root for him a little bit there. I just hated him. He was horrible to women. He talked to people like they were pieces of shit, and I just didn't like the guy in this movie. And I haven't seen him in too much. I don't know if he's like that in all his films, but for this one, he really brought it down for me. There was a lot of dragging in the middle as well, I thought. But overall, it wasn't a bad vampire flick. I'd probably give it a 5.5, 6 out of 10. But definitely not one of John Carpenter's best films, in my opinion. But that is Vampires. Glad to have finally seen it. And finally, we have another 2023 release, that is Plane, starring Gerard Butler and Mike Colter. Now, I've done a full review for this one as well, which should be down below if you want to check it out. But this is basically about Gerard Butler, who is this pilot, and he's got a prison inmate on board, and about 15 passengers, and they hit some bad weather because the plane company wants to kind of take a shortcut there because there's not many people on the plane and save as much money as possible, and they put them through this terrible weather, and the plane starts to have some faults basically, and they crash in the middle of this jungle where there is no government or anything, and the militia run the place. So they've gone from one extreme to the other, and they've got to kind of fight back and try and get away from this island basically, or this jungle. And you know what? This movie was really fun. I got exactly what I thought I'd get out of it. It was a popcorn flick. It didn't do anything drastic. Not too many surprises in there. But Gerard Butler, I do think, played a better character than he does in some other movies. I really attached myself to his character. Brody Thomas, I think his name is, in this film. And there was some... The scenes with the plane... all the plane scenes in this were great. They were really well done. And for someone who doesn't like flying, it kind of put the shits up me a little bit. But overall, I had a fun time with Plane. It's just a generic action movie, really. That doesn't... It plays it very, very safe, but it's enjoyable. I think everyone will get a kick out of this film. So that is Plane. Okay guys, I hope you all enjoyed this end of month vlog. What did you think of these movies? Have you seen them? Have you not seen them? Have they maybe made you want to see some of them? Leave it down below in the comments and I'll try and get back to you all, I promise. And if you want more end of month vlogs and 2023 movie reviews for the ones I spoke about, they'll be down below as well. Thanks so much guys, take it all easy, and I'll see you all in the next video.